Let's go ahead and welcome in our national security contributor and former FBI agent, Tracy Walder. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me, Kelsey.
So, Tracy, as a former FBI agent and a CIA officer, what insights can you provide on the Bryan Kohberger case and its similarities to other high-profile cases like the 1978 Chi Omega murders? Does this add up to you?
Yes and no. I can understand some of the similarities. In fact, I have no doubt in my mind that Bryan Kohberger, look, we know he was a criminal justice student. He was pursuing his PhD in criminology. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that he most likely studied the Bundy case. In fact, I teach it to my own college students because I teach criminal justice. So I have no doubt that he was absolutely familiar with the Bundy case. And yes, certainly he went into a home where there were members of two different sororities really in there. However, I see a few differences, and the difference that I actually see is their demeanor. Bryan Kohberger, if we look at sort of the reporting that's been done about him, he was not someone that I would say is charming. He's not someone, by all accounts, he was standoffish, and he didn't get along with a lot of people. Ted Bundy actually used his charm to commit a lot of his crimes. Another thing that we can look at in terms of similarities of the types of crimes, we know Bundy bludgeoned a lot of his victims to death, and we have Kohberger who stabbed them. So that's an intimate crime. So there's similarities and differences between the two.
Well, this week we also know that the Kohberger defense requested a full record of grand jury proceedings and evidence for the case. What do you anticipate is the defense's next move?
So it looks like they're asking about the grand jury because they are thinking that the grand jury, and they're most likely correct, was convened just for this, that there wasn't a grand jury that was in place beforehand. And I think therein lies why they feel that there is most likely a bias, though I personally don't necessarily think that that's the case. That's what they're going to do. Also, all of the evidence, whether we like it or not, and whether we think he's guilty or not, he is entitled to all of that evidence. And so my guess is that they may even be asking for more time at this point once they are able to get their hands on all of the evidence.
Kind of sounds like it's going to be an uphill battle for the Kohberger defense team. So we also know that he's received intense scrutiny nationwide. Can you kind of elaborate on the challenges involved in maintaining a fair and unbiased trial despite such strong emotions?
You really hit the nail on the head right there, Kelsey. I think it's really hard. It's hard to find a non-biased jury, and it's hard to find a broad jury pool to pull from. And so I think, while I do think this is going to be an uphill battle from an evidence perspective for the defense, I do think that they are going to have an interesting argument regarding the media coverage and the bias that people have, and that ultimately will impact the jury selection. I'm wondering if at some point they're going to ask for a change of venue, though I don't know what good that's necessarily going to do because this case has had so much media coverage.
Tracy, is the death penalty for Bryan Kohberger, is that still at play in this case?
Oh, absolutely. And we know that recently Idaho did bring back death by firing squad is an option. Folks can choose in multiple states. And so it's absolutely on the table. In fact, this is, again, just my hypothesis. I would imagine that the defense is going to try to use that as a bargaining chip to hopefully, in their perspective, get that taken off of the table in exchange for a possible life if he is ultimately convicted of these crimes, because right now he's just accused.
Okay, Tracy Walder, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.